All right. I am David Bradford. I am running for County Commission District 2.
David, why do you want to be the next county commissioner for District 2?
I was fortunate enough I guess when Mayor Luttrell first took office to serve on his Young Professionals Council. And through that time, I really started focusing on county politics, and I realized very quickly that the county was in need of more diligent, well-balanced professional leadership. And so I know that I possess all of those qualities, and so that's why I have decided to run to help lead Shelby County.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a consulting engineer. So my background is in building design. Specifically, my background is mechanical engineering. I have 2 degrees in mechanical engineering from Mississippi State. And so my day-to-day life is explaining highly complex items to owners and architects that may not particularly understand those items. So I think that may tailor well into the county commission, just being able to investigate all the aspects of items when they come.
Yeah, there's some very complicated issues in the county level.
Yes.
Yeah. So are you Collierville native? Did you grow up in the district?
No, I've grown up in Shelby County all my life. Other than the time I went to Mississippi State, I went to MUS for high school, and then moved back to, I guess I grew up, first 12 years of my life was in Whitehaven. And then when I moved back, my family had moved to East Memphis, so I lived in East Memphis for a while. Then my wife and I moved downtown, and then in 2010 we moved to Collierville. Decided it was time to start looking for a good place to raise a family, so we moved to Collierville, and so I've been out there 8 years now.
Great. So can you describe what are the biggest issues in Collierville in your district that you would face as a commissioner that you want to bring to the fore?
Yeah, and I think most of them are probably not necessarily Collierville centric, but it's probably the whole county as well. The first one is education. Obviously, Collierville has their own municipal school system, and we also have the Shelby County school system. And so on the commission, I would hope to just make sure that both groups, all the municipal school systems and the Shelby County, are being supported equally. Just make sure we're not fighting over facilities, students, or anything else, funding for that matter. So that would be one area. Another area is workforce development. I think that's kind of across the board for the county for sure. I just had a meeting with a contractor last week, and he was saying that a lot of the bids are high right now because nobody can find that trained workforce. And so making sure we have the programs in place to get the workforce trained in the right areas, whether we're training them for, obviously we have a huge medical device field here in Memphis, so make sure we get the right workforce getting trained there. And then I guess the last area is just kind of focus on government spending. I think the current administration has done a good job at reducing debt and other things, and I would just hope that I could continue in their footsteps.
What makes you interested in politics? There are a lot of ways to contribute to a community. Why elected office?
I've been serving in a number of different areas. I mean, I'm on the YMCA board. I serve on the Carnival Planning Commission. I serve on the local ULI chapter, plus a number of other professional organizations. And I guess I just see that I don't feel a lot of people my age are looking to help in politics anymore. I think a lot of people may be turned off a little bit by politics, and so they often run the opposite direction. And I feel like that's often a bad idea because we have a lot of smart people, leading a lot of companies, and I think if they got a little bit more involved in politics, that might help us out more. So that's kind of why I'm here, is to step back into it from that side and try and help things through the political side as opposed to just volunteering.
Any public service in your family background?
No, there's not.
You're the first to run for office?
I'm the first to run for office.
It must be interesting. This is your second time, right?
This is my second time.
So what did you learn the first time?
There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. It can be very rewarding, but it's, as I was telling you on the elevator ride up, going door to door will make you sweat. But I think getting out there and listening to people and understanding what everybody's wants and needs are, and not coming to the table with just strictly my thoughts on everything, is very good.
It'd be a good time for your.
Now you mentioned some other issues beyond that kind of cut across the county: education, workforce development. How have you managed to understand and sort of embrace other areas of the county? What have you done? Have you gone to meetings in other communities? Have you been talking to folks elsewhere? What gave you that insight into those issues being so relevant?
A little bit of everything. I mean, so my work, the firm is here in Memphis, and we do work probably all over in like a 200-mile radius. And so that really takes me a lot of stuff, around town. We're working on the design for the renovation of the convention center. So obviously being in those different areas, not only am I going home at night to Carville and I have my friends and acquaintances in Carville, but I'm also working with City of Memphis employees on the convention center or other projects related to that. So I think that helps me kind of understand what's going on across the county. As I said, my involvement in the Urban Land Institute has done a great job of kind of keeping me on track of what's going on in all the different parts of town. I've really enjoyed that, just understanding, much like you said, obviously there's separate issues from Carville that affect Whitehaven or other areas, and kind of having a broader understanding of that and a real regionalism, if you will, I think would be very beneficial on the commission.
Are you on the ULI board?
I am.
How long have you been on the board?
2 years now, I believe.
What have you learned? The ULI is involved in a lot of projects like South City, a lot of revitalization projects. What have you learned in that work?
I guess, well, obviously funding is always an issue, and so ULI is always trying to help find funding for those, whether it's grants or tax incentives and that kind of stuff. So obviously, working through ULI, you get a better understanding of what the hardships are, trying to develop spaces and that kind of stuff are. Other things that I've learned through ULI, they hold their Region Smart event, I think it's every spring. And so I've attended that 2 or 3 times, and it really has been a great opportunity to bring a lot of thought leaders from around the nation and kind of devote them to issues going on in Memphis. And so whether that may be blight or some of these other issues, it's been great to hear thoughts from outside of the area. Experts come in to speak on those topics.
One of the concerns I've heard about efforts like ULI and some of the projects going on in the North and South Memphis areas is that a lot of smart people come in to do some good things, but there isn't enough involvement of folks who live in those areas, in 38126, for example, in South City. Have you heard that, and how do you think we should approach that?
Wow. I don't know. I think we really just keep having to, beat that drum, that let the communities know it's not one organization that's going to come in and change things for them. That organization can come in and help, but they also have to be involved and help those areas develop and that kind of thing. We can't, just hope we can flip a switch and make it happen. It's going to be work from top to bottom and getting it done.
Now, you mentioned in development and incentives, tax incentives, and one of the things going on at the county level is sort of the confusion, concern about all the different tax incentives that are available, from pilots to TIFs to TDZs. Do you have any concerns yourself about the way things are going with those? Do you think we should do a better job of allocating those resources to parts of town that are not as developed or distressed?
I think more education definitely needs to be done on all the different types of incentives that are available. I know ULI has done a little bit of that, but it hasn't been as far-reaching as we probably hoped it would be. As far as focusing those on different areas, I'm a little hesitant to say that. Yeah, I guess I'd like to see kind of what the master plan of the area is, and then kind of focus our efforts on that.
So one of the things you mentioned earlier was that by going door to door, you got a real appreciation for how much hard work that is.
Yes.
How much sweat equity you have to put into doing that. What did you learn about yourself while doing that campaign?
I've actually given some smaller talks for a friends class at CBU on this. I'm an engineer, and so I'm an introvert. And so getting out and getting in front of people is not my natural style. And so that's really the most that I've learned about myself, is that I may perceive myself as an introvert, and I may take all the tests personality-wise as an introvert, but I do have the ability to get out there and socialize and really build strong relationships, which I guess I never really, however long it's been, 4 years ago, I guess I probably didn't really see that in myself. And then through campaigning, I've kind of learned that I do have the ability to build strong relationships, which has been greatly beneficial while I'm here today, probably.
What did you learn about your district while doing that?
About my district?
That you didn't know before?
Probably more geography than anything. It's kind of a weird layout because it's Collierville and it goes north up through Eads up to 64, but then there are 3, I believe, precincts over in Cordova. And so there really is a broad range of demographic in the district. A lot of people, when you tell them it's the Collierville district, they think of what they think of as Collierville, but when you really start looking at it and realizing that you're representing Cordova and Eads and those areas, that's probably what I learned the most, just how diverse the district is.
Have you been to many county commission meetings?
Not in the past, probably the past 2 years. But I sat in on a number of them when I ran in 2014.
Any observations as an outsider about how the county commission works and what you might bring to it?
I felt like towards the end of this year, and this is just reading through newspaper articles and all this, that kind of stuff, not being there in person, but I kind of felt like there's a little more discord. I kind of want to see the group working better together to benefit the county. Whether people are using their seat to springboard into another political position or something like that, I kind of frown upon that. I think people need to be in their place and vote for what's best on the county while they're there.
One of the things the county commission has been dealing with a lot, you mentioned it, is the county budget. There's a surplus. Mm-hmm. They shaved another penny off. You think our taxes are still too high, the county's property tax rate too high? What can we do about that?
Yes, I think they probably are still too high. What can we do about that? Without taking a deep dive into the budget to try and see, where we could help in some areas. I don't know that I have an actual answer for how we do that. But I do know that obviously with the migration of a lot of people out of the county and out of the city limits, we need to do whatever we can to try and bring those people back in, and keeping the tax rate at the current rate or lower, I think would help a lot to bring those people back into the county.
You ran 4 years ago and you've been involved with electoral politics for a while. Have you run across any mentors, any folks out there who are sort of helping you, guiding you with your, how politics works and how the county?
Yeah, I have. Mayor Luttrell has become a great friend of mine, and so that's certainly been one mentor. There's a number of people in Carnival politics. John Worley, I serve on the planning commission with him, and he's been a great asset just to help explain more about what's going on in Carnival. Of course, the Carnival Mayor Stan Joyner and I have built a relationship as well. So those things have all been very beneficial to help get a little clearer insight into politics.
What's been the reaction of your friends and family when you told them you were running for office again?
Honestly, when I told my parents, I think they about had a heart attack. I think they thought, why in the world are you going to do that? Mm-hmm. Some of the people in my office kind of had a similar thought, and that, why you've got a great thing going on here at the office, why would you want to, take some of your time away from this to do that? And ultimately, I believe it's kind of all of our duty to get more involved in politics. Mm-hmm. Look at the turnout for the primaries and how uninterested the public was, and that's, to me, just the opposite answer. We need to be more involved because that will help us get better officials in these positions mm-hmm. and do a better job leading the county. And so, again, that's kind of where I stepped up. That reaction is kind of what has spurred me to do this even more. Not that my parents, telling me, I can't believe you're going to do this, was going to shut me down. It kind of just rejuvenated me and said, yes, that is exactly why I'm running.
So where does that come from? You talked about your generation not being as active or involved in politics, maybe being cynical about it. Why aren't you?
I don't know. I guess I've just, through whatever, readings I've done, whether it be the Region Smart conferences, I tell a lot of people about the Region Smart conferences. I enjoy it because it challenges you to think differently about a lot of the issues and that kind of thing. And so I think that's kind of what's happened, is through that and through some of the other things that I just kind of challenge myself with, try and take a look at it from a different set of eyes and a different understanding, and it'll help you kind of see the whole picture. And I think that's kind of what I've done here, is I've kind of looked and seen, I did the Leadership Memphis Executive class, and that was another one that kind of just opened your eyes to more issues than you may normally see, and kind of give you, I guess, helps you see different answers to problems you may not have seen before.
With your background in engineering and your work with the Urban Land Institute, you've thought a lot about issues like urban planning. Shelby County is a really big county. Mm-hmm. Memphis is a really big, expansive city. Are there things that we could be doing differently, do you think, in terms of our growth and development plans to make things work better in this county, more efficiently, more productively?
Yes, definitely there is. What they are, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I can say that in working with clients looking to move to Memphis to build structures and that kind of stuff, we have had one recently, and he commented that even with EDGE, the process is not as clear-cut and straightforward as he had expected it to be. And so it seemed like there's probably, something there that we could do, whether it's a minor tweak or a major overhaul, I don't know. But it seems like that we could do something. If that individual had problems, with it, then obviously there's an issue there.
Just kind of along the same lines of that question, what do you see in terms of Shelby County, in terms of the future? Do you see any efforts that might work at regionalization to both be more efficient and also to save money?
I don't know that I have any right off the top of my head. I mean, I know a lot of the services right now between the city and the county have already started to combine. School system is a prime example. I understand that some other internal services like print services and stuff have kind of combined into one. So it would seem like there's probably more that can be done there. But I'm certainly not at this time advocating for, the city to give up its charter or combine. I think that's something that certainly needs to be on the topic and discussion. But I think we're, years away from probably figuring that out.
Anything you want to say we haven't asked you about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I covered it.
Thank you, David.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you.